The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of its hosts, guests, or callers, and do not necessarily represent the opinions of WTBR-FM, its management, other producers, or sponsors.
Sparkling water, lemon, osmosis, carbonated, filtered, distilled. See, in trouble.
You're listening to And So It Flows, your only show for H2O here at WTBR 89.7 FM Pittsfield Community Radio every Tuesday at 2 p.m. We bring water outside the cup. Today we'll be talking with Victor Capelli, who's a former naturalist over at Springside Park. Talk about urban forests and their value to water, especially Springside Park right here in Pittsfield.
The abundance of water, the fool will get thirsty.
It was cool. It was cool to talk to Victor Capelli. He'll be on later in the show. Victor had something to do with being the resident naturalist at Springside Park. And he was sharing with people the natural environs. Used to actually be part of the water supply of the city drinking water and early on. Super Waterman here, your ambassador for water. We're here at And So It Flows, the only show for H2O. Got a little tune here. This one is actually coming from the world of classical. So this is like a shout-out water tune to our friends over at Tanglewood. So shout out to Tanglewood. This is Water Music Suite by George Frederick Handel and played by the English Concert. So stay tuned, And So It Flows, your only show for H2O.
Put your feet in the water if you want to feel free. I love it when you shave your head and how you walk, that's very me. Flickering lights in your head, going from red to green, and I'm scared to cross the road for fear of what I see and feel. Maybe the truth is underwater. Tell that immigration lawyer this war belongs to me too. When I get there, will you show me your humanity? When I'm lying on the beach, will you feed me Mother Italy? Oh, the goddesses of Greece, will you treat me like a queen or a refugee? Put your faith in the water if you're brave enough to brave the storm. The ocean is a ruthless lover, but there would be no tears without her. And what about the moon? Maybe the truth is underwater. Can a shark ever be kind? Can an octopus tell lies? Is a starfish really a star? You wanna know how small you are? Swim beside a killer whale. Oh, well, it's not just a drop in the ocean. Oh, no, no. So Greta just start a commotion. Maybe the truth is underwater. Can a shark ever be kind? Can an octopus tell lies? Is a starfish really a star? You wanna know how small you are? Swim beside a killer whale. A killer whale. Ooh. When I get there, will you show me our humanity? When I'm lying on the beach, will you feed me Mother Italy? all the goddesses of greed. Will you treat me like a queen or a refugee?
You're listening to And So It Flows, your only show for H2O. I am your super waterman, ambassador for water, also known as Leslie Gabriel. Just know the following. The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of its hosts, guests, or callers, and do not necessarily represent the opinions of WTBR-FM, its management, other producers, or sponsors. I'm your super waterman, ambassador for water. You were just listening to our couple of tunes. Last one was Underwater by Boy George. Maybe the truth is underwater, he's saying. And before that, we had Water Music Suite number 2 in D major. A shout out tune to our friends over at Tanglewood who love to play that classical stuff. So a little shout out to H2O, out to you. And we got a little bit of talk a little later with, who is it? Victor C. Capelli. Victor is the most recent naturalist who is no longer working at Springside Park, but I believe he was the most recent one. He is both not an arborist, but he's truly an environmental educator. He's someone who knows about urban forests and their value to water. So we'll be on with him in a little while. So stay tuned. Another 20 minutes from now. And beyond that, what else do we have? Well, we like to blend water, music, water news, and deep water talk. So I'll have a little bit of news right here. Intentionally, we're out to create a culture for water. That's what I do. That's my job. Little news, H2O news. This is from Boston.com, which I believe is the Herald. Cambridge, the city of Cambridge, is asking residents to help water the city's trees during the drought. Residents and businesses can play a critical role in this effort by watering streets adjacent to their property. Every part of Massachusetts is experiencing a drought, and the bone-dry conditions in Cambridge have officials asking residents to pitch in to help maintain the city's urban forests. The city said the recent July heat wave and ongoing drought conditions have significantly stressed both new and older trees there. Andrew Putman, Cambridge's public works superintendent of urban forestry, said in a statement that the most important thing people can do is help water the trees near their home. This is the most sustainable way to water when we're asking any residents and businesses who are able to please do their part by filling a gator bag on a tree or drenching the soil in a nearby tree's well or tree well. The month of July was one of the Boston area's hottest and driest ever, according to the National Weather Service. Only 0.62 inches of rain were recorded in the area in July 2022. So yeah, drought, yes. Urban forests, yes. Important for water, important to take care of them. Those urban forests, their access to natural environs is one thing, but in keeping a city cool, they actually lend quite a part and water has a lot to do with that. And we'll hear more about that from Victor Capelli, environmental educator. He'll be on in about 15 minutes, so stay tuned for that. We got a little bit more water coming your way in the sound of music, and this one is Southern Cross by Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Oops, we had a little technical difficulty. We'll start right back with Crosby, Stills, and Nash in just 1 second.
Got out of town on a boat going to Southern Islands, sailing to reach before a following sea. She was making for the trades on the outside and the downhill run to Papeete. Off the wind on this heading line, the Marquesas. You got 80 feet of a water line, nicely making way. In a noisy bar in Avalon, I tried to call you, but on a midnight watch I realized why twice you ran away. Think about how many times I had fallen. Spirits are using me, Lord, your voice is calling. What heaven brought you and me cannot be forgotten. I have been around the world, looking for that woman girl who knows love can endure, and you know it will. When you see the Southern Cross for the first time, you understand now why you came this way. 'Cause the truth you might be running from is so small, but it's as big as the promise of a coming day. So I'm sailing for tomorrow, my dreams are a-dying, and my love is an anchor tied to you, tied with a silver chain. I have my ship and all her flags are a-flying. She is all that I have left, and music is her name. Think about how many times I have fallen. Spirits are using me, Lord, your voice is calling. What heaven brought you and me cannot be forgotten. I've been around the world. I have been around the world, looking for that woman girl who knows love can endure, and you know it will, and you know it will. So we cheated and we lied and we tested, and we never failed to it's the easiest thing to do. You will survive being bested. Somebody fine will come along, make me forget about loving you. In the Southern Cross.
be there in my trials and my tribulations, through our doubts and frustrations, in my violence, in my turbulence, through my fear and my confessions, in my anguish and my pain, through my joy and my sorrow, in the promise of another tomorrow. I'll never let you part, for you're always in my heart.
You're listening to And So It Flows, your only show for H2O. Super excited to be here with you. You know why? Because at And So It Flows, we combine water music, water news, and deep water talk. I bring water outside the cup. Be really very grateful if you subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Google, Stitcher, or Amazon Audible. Shoot us an email at andsoitflows@gmail.com. Excited to hear from you, our water-loving listeners, and see if you want us to cover anything or add things or subtract things, or if you have, if you're a whistleblower, if you have a new report, you just let me know. Shoot me an email, andsoitflows@gmail.com. I am your super waterman, ambassador for water. We had, what was that? Will You Be There by Michael Jackson. That was, everybody knows that as the Free Willy song. Over the River Jordan was the first line. Then before that, we had Southern Cross by Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Oh, well, no Young. Crosby, Stills, and Nash of the Daylight Again Deluxe Edition album. Really excited to have Crosby, Stills, and Nash have some water music out there, because they actually speak to quite a few different people through their music. And that's one of the reasons we do what we do, the music. So, a little poetry here. On the Breakwater by Carl Sandburg. On the Breakwater. In the summer dark, a man and a girl are sitting. She across his knee, and they are looking face to face, talking to each other without words, singing rhythms in silence to each other. A funnel of white ranges the blue dusk from an outgoing boat, playing its searchlight puzzled abrupt over a streak of green, and two on the breakwater keep their silence, she on his knee. On the Breakwater by Carl Sandburg. What's coming up in the neighborhood? Well, by the way, might as well say, we are at 89.7 WTBR Pittsfield Community Radio, and So It Flows, your only show for H2O. What do we have here? I think I see something. Water Love Movie Nights. These are coming up. These are free, I heard. Where? At Riverway Park, at 185 Dewey Avenue, right here in Pittsfield. Saturday, August 13th, 2022, at 8 p.m., we have the movie Moana. And then Saturday, the 27th, 2022, we have the movie Shark Tale. And these are free water movie nights, and that's at Riverway Park in Pittsfield. So come on down, check it out, get yourself a blankie or a chair, and enjoy some really cool stuff. We're going to have ice cream there. We're going to have people tabling about scuba. We're going to have even the Copsicle's going to be there, which is like an ice cream thing that police do. And we got Cravens down there, and they're going to be doing some stuff with ice cream. AST Scuba and Westside Legends. Really, really cool. City coming together for water from all across the city to Riverway Park. So come on down, water movie nights. The 13th is Moana, and August 27th is Shark Tale. So come on down and get yourself some water movies by the water. Riverway Park, for those who may not know, is right by the mighty Housatonic River. Right there. You could even stick your toes in if you wanted to. And So It Flows, your only show for H2O. In a couple of minutes, actually maybe even a couple of seconds, we're going to be bringing on Victor Capelli. Victor is a naturalist, and he was the former naturalist and educator for Springside Park, right here, our urban forest right in western Massachusetts, right here in Pittsfield. And hear more about it. Springside Park, really cool. So welcome to the show, Victor. Happy to have you. And again, you're an honor. Hey, so happy to be here with you today. I'm in Springside Park in Pittsfield, and I'm happy to bring to you the former resident naturalist of Springside Park, and also an environmental analyst and educator, Victor Capelli.
Victor C. Capelli. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, tell people a little bit about, your former resident naturalist here, and what exactly does Springside Park have to do with water in Pittsfield anyway?
Because the wetlands here that are developed underneath the forest is part of a wetland system that produces the trees and the wildlife and the plants and the wildflowers that live here. And when I did my programs here, many of my nature walks went through these wetlands and these forests that were supplied by this water system that went through the park, that is still going through the park. And as a naturalist, I grew up in New York City, by the way, and my New York City background is such that I have an intimate knowledge of natural systems. I was the graduate of Cornell University environmental education program, and also I'm a fishery and wildlife technician. So my background and my scientific background allowed me to produce programs for the park, and which has essentially accentuated all of the water systems that are in the park, that all the wildlife, all the birds, and all the trees that live here. Without the water, this urban forest would not be existing as we have today. So as a naturalist and as a field ecologist, I brought my background from New York City to Springside Park in Pittsfield to give people an idea and education about what's happening in Springside Park and why it is important for the water integrity and for the water health of the community.
Yeah, it's super important, because sometimes, actually, in my view, I don't know if it's your view, but sometimes we look at water like the final thing. We forget. It's kind of like the Giving Tree book by Shel Silverstein, where the tree is always there giving, and then, at the end of the book, it's all chopped down. So with the water, it's important, don't you think, to bring people right back to the source of life?
It's very, very important, because this was the original water source for the city of Pittsfield.
Wow.
And what happened here is the fact that all of the trees that you see in this urban forest are growing along the trace of the original water system that starts way up near the Middle Reed School and goes down to the city itself. So what you see here is a generated ecosystem basically by water. The subsurface aquifer that's below our feet, which feeds into the bedrock aquifer, which is composed of limestone and marble. Those two aquifers compose an integral unit of water flowing through the entire landscape of Springside Park into Pittsfield. The problem being now is that we are in a drought in Massachusetts, and we have several categories of drought. But Massachusetts, like the rest of the country, is suffering from drought and from water deficit. That's why we have to protect this urban forest from all kinds of human development and human pressures which will endanger that water integrity in the park itself. When I was the naturalist here, at the time, we didn't have so much of a problem with water scarcity because the water table was high. The wetlands that were behind us were full in the spring. If you walk through the park now, you'll see that the water is very, very low, if not non-existent as a result. That's one of the reasons why environmental education now is even more important, because we're stressing the value of water integrity in the entire community of Pittsfield. And because of that, the dissemination of information regarding how water is producing health in an ecosystem is even more important. When you turn on the tap and no water comes out, what happens? What are you going to start to yell and scream at the water commissioner, making a phone call or writing nasty letters? Where's my water? How come I don't have any water? You have to understand the water comes from a specific place, like a reservoir, like Cleveland Reservoir, which supplies over 50% of the water to Pittsfield. There are 6 reservoirs that feed Pittsfield, and those reservoirs are fed by the aquifer system, which is contributed by the trees. The trees are the main source of water in our environment. They breathe, they excrete water, and they take in water. It's part of the water cycle. So thereby, what happens is when you have no trees, the reservoirs start to fall. And that's what's happening now across the West. When you have a mega drought, all the trees are drying up, the water is dropping down because the trees are not there to contribute to that water viability.
Yeah, let me introduce another thing that also happens that I experience when I'm by trees. It's cooler. It actually is cooler.
That's right.
Your temperature goes down, not just of your body, but also the surrounding area that has access to trees and green space. So tell me, let's go back in time a decade or so, and you were giving classes here. What would happen? Where were your classes?
My classes started off in the Springside house, usually on a Friday night, and the following morning on a Saturday we would have the program, which was basically, could be any topic. It could be birds. I'd be leading a bird walk. I could be leading a plant walk, or I could be leading a medicinal herbal walk, or I could be leading an edible wilds walk. That would always be accompanied by tables of handouts, and the participants, usually between 10 and 12 or 15 people, would follow me along the trails into the woods and the fields and the wetlands of Springside Park. They would have a basis of information already given them the previous night on a Friday. And so every week these programs would be going out to the people of Pittsfield, would be advertised, and people would be able to understand the park better because it was a 2-part program. Many of the programs centered on the fact that we were very lush. We had a very, very lush environment here. The richness of vegetation was all supported by that wet matrix of aquifers that were here, the wetlands and so on. We have Springside ponds back here, which were rich in cattails, and they were always very noisy with birds and with amphibians and with toads. And so we had a classroom which was ideal because of the rich tapestry of wetland developed ecosystems. So I had an advantage. I had a real advantage because this is the main reason why Springside Park is so wonderful. The water element is the driving factor behind the rich tapestry of life in Springside Park. It's nothing else. It's not so much the altitude, even though we're high up above the Pittsfield area here. It's not so much the location, even though we're part of the upper Housatonic watershed, which is integral to that because all of the Springside Park streams feed into the Housatonic River watershed. That Housatonic watershed goes further down into the state and eventually enters into the Long Island Sound. So It bisects all the way down through New England.
All the way from here?
All the way from here, the Housatonic River. So this Housatonic River eventually finds its way down to the Long Island Sound. So this is a river that has its headwaters up here. Specifically geologically...
Can I stop you for just one
Sure.
quick second? Just getting back to the classes. Okay, was there age range?
No age range. It was every age.
So, let's say I have just a thought. If anybody showed up either looking at their phone or nervous in some way, after you were done doing the whatever program you were doing and you're down by the water and they come back, did they ever talk to you about how they felt afterwards?
Oh, many of them enjoyed the walk immensely because of the fact that the information that I gave them about the park's ecosystem was so fascinating to them, and they could actually sample and understand everything in very clear English. They wanted to come back again on their own. And that was the main reason for my walks, because I gave them an invitation to the park to experience it on their own. As an educator, as an environmental educator, the main goal is to give you and give the public an introduction to the natural world in a very, very easy to understand format.
Did they ever say they just felt more relaxed after doing it?
They wanted more.
Exactly.
They wanted more. They didn't want the program to end, basically.
5 more minutes.
Yeah. That's
Like
basically what happened, was that they would come on my following walks, and I'd have walks and talks and programs that would continue on right through the fall. It was a year-round thing. It didn't stop when the first snowflakes fell, because we had programs on animal tracks in the snow. We had programs on how to track animals in the snow, what kind of animals they were. We had igloo making classes. It was an all year-round thing where people were able to experience the natural world of Springside Park in a way that was exciting and dynamic. And they had the advantage about getting in their car and then going home after it was all over, because they were only about 5 or 10 minutes away. Centrally located, is specifically amenable to transportation, walking distance from all the major aspects of Pittsfield's infrastructure. So it was very popular in everything that I did. But the water aspect of Springside Park is the dynamic matrix of this entire park landscape. Without this water, this arboretum that we have around us would not be existing. And that is a product of geological time, because the bedrock aquifer that's deep below us is a limestone rock, and that is a very good rock for transmitting water, versus, let's say, sand and gravel, where the water flows very quickly. Limestone will hold the water much longer than a sandstone or a sand aquifer, an unconsolidated aquifer. It stays there, and over millennia, and we're talking about maybe about 20 million years or more, that aquifer becomes the basis of the aquifer. The aquifer becomes the basis of water richness in the park.
And just for those of you who are just tuning in, you're listening to And So It Flows, the only show for H2O, and we're talking with Victor C. Capelli. He's a master naturalist, environmental educator, and also former resident naturalist of Springside Park, in which water flows through. So thanks again, and tell us a little about Springside Park. Okay, so wait.
Okay.
The question goes like this: how much of the park is wetlands, would you say?
Between 50 and 75%.
Wow. So now that water itself, is there any plaque here that actually states to the value of the water that runs through this park? Is there anything that actually states, here is this water in Springside, this is a historical whatever, this is a natural gem? Is there anything that actually states that?
Unfortunately, I'm the only one that's able to bring that information to the general public. It has never been any plaques put down here, information regarding that, but it is such a well-known fact that people have been getting the water from this system because their wells and their rich garden spaces are developed from the aquifer that flows through the park itself. But there are no plaques that says that this is a specifically wetland-rich environment. But that being the case, all you have to do is walk through those wetlands, the scrub shrub swamp, the vernal pools, the wet meadows, the fens, the seeps. The name Springside Park literally means spring that has springs that have bubbled up from the water.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why people come here in the early days to get their water, because the springs were so flowing all the time, they could get pure spring water for their own usage.
So this is like a water jewel of Berkshire County.
Correct.
And for Pittsfield itself. Beautiful. And that could be an opportunity for the city of Pittsfield to use it as an education, not only an educational resource as it has been in the past, but also a reason to show it that people would actually come here who are, I would call, water people. People
Correct.
who like water,
Yep.
have a particular set of sensibilities, and this could be a place on their water trail if
Yep.
they're, let's say, doing a northeast water pilgrimage.
Correct.
This
So-
could be
Yep.
on their tour.
Exactly, the water trail could start right here. And as a naturalist, I used to work at Dyke and Pond up on the Rensselaer Plateau, which is not too far from here. It's near Troy. I helped put in a water trail up there at the center, the environmental center at Dyke and Pond. That was a water environment too. And the water trail that we put in had specific diagrams that showed the water cycle. That's the most crucial part of understanding for the general public, is that Springside Park illustrates the water cycle in all its guises, because that's the critical factor that climate change is affecting right now. It's the water cycle. That's why this past summer we have hardly any rainfall, and that's why Massachusetts is in a drought condition as it is. That's why the West Coast is in a mega drought that hasn't been experienced for over 1,200 years.
Wow.
And that's the reason why we have forest fires in southern Spain, why we have forest fires in Europe and Siberia, because drought is now worldwide. It is a phenomenon that is becoming systemic, and it is becoming chronic.
Okay, so here we are. You're in a Dr. Seuss book, and they're cutting down all the truffula trees. I forgot the name of that book, but everybody knows what it is.
The Lorax.
Was
the
the Lorax. Okay,
Yep.
so we're sitting in an urban forest that could be considered one of the final refuges for the Lorax trees. What's the value, and I also want to segue, you help run an organization dedicated to urban forest renewal.
BerkshireUrbanForest.org.
BerkshireUrbanForest.org. So we got about another 2 minutes. What's the value of urban forest reclamation, and what's the value of it to water? Can you do it in 30 seconds?
Sure, eco services. Urban forests provide carbon sequestration, which cuts down the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It creates shade, which cools down the atmosphere, especially in city streets, which helps mitigate what's known as the urban heat island effect. It provides biodiversity sanctuaries for animals, which also mitigate the climate change problem with high temperatures. It provides water recycling, provides water sources, it provides oxygen. The trees provide the oxygen, the water, and all of the eco services that are necessary to keep life on Earth functioning. Without the trees, without those trees, you're not going to have the water. Without the water, life is going to cease to exist.
I'd like to add one thing to that, Victor, and all of that, super important. Peace of mind. Walk in a forest, hang out by the water, enjoy the greenery, maybe garden a little. Peace of mind, which is helpful in these times of what I call global snow globing, where everybody's shaking up and down. There's got to be refuges for our human ability to have peace of mind. And
exactly. Thank you very much for this interview.
Yeah, I appreciate
enjoyed
it.
myself very much.
How can people find out more about your naturalist education piece, and how can people find out more about the urban forest?
Just go to the website, BerkshireUrbanForest.org. It will have essays, articles, and links to everything to deal with urban forests. By the way, Massachusetts is losing about 5,000 acres of woods every year, according to the Massachusetts Audubon Society. The tropical rainforest in South America is losing 150,000 acres of tropical rainforest a day on average. Trees are most important because they cool the earth, and deforestation is the biggest cause of water loss and climate change damage.
Yes, and
climate change contribution. Trees are the climate change sources. I mean, climate change. You can edit that.
Yeah, whatever. It's all
change.
good. That's the value of interviews. It's all good. But in the meantime, we're sitting here in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. We are at Springside Park, not too far from the Springside House by the Butterfly Gardens, interviewing Victor C. Capelli, naturalist. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing yourself with our water-loving listeners. And for those folks out in the water world listening to this awesome show, urban forests, important. Local city side, even if it's in your city, having aquifers in your city, forests that are protecting those aquifers, it might be something that you'd be interested in. And just thanks again for joining us. We'll be back with some tunes in just a second. And again, And So It Flows, the only show for H2O. And thanks, Victor.
Thank you very much for being here.
You're listening to And So It Flows, your only show for H2O. I am your super waterman, your ambassador for water, bringing it to you outside the cup. And remember again, in August 13th, 2022 at Riverway Park here in Pittsfield, right by the Housatonic River, we're going to be showing Moana. So come on down. There'll be 7 p.m. You should be there by then. Get yourself a blankie and keep on going. We got some singing going on by our friend Gene Kelly, and with this classic, Singing in the Rain.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feel, and I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above, and the sun's in my heart, and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face. I'll walk down the lane with a happy refrain, just singing, singing in the rain. Dancing in the rain. I'm happy again. I'm singing and dancing in the rain. dancing and singing in